Okay, I want to start with let me just set this up. Okay, give me a wave if you have used a Mentimeter before. All right, shh. We're starting again. Was that? How do I put the QR code up? I should be good at this, shouldn't I? Digital. There it is. Yeah, well done. Right. There is a Mentimeter question on the screen. There is a code. You need to get your phone out and you need to scan the QR code or type in the code at the very top, 12284016. Tell me how big the cube is. Tell me how big the cube is. How big is the cube? A variety of ideas have expanded into our consciousness. All equal sides. Very good. You just have to believe. Great. Amazing. Okay. Next question on the Menti questionnaire. I love your answers, by the way. They're all right and they're all wrong at the same time. It can fit Schrodinger's cat. Yeah, absolutely. Someone's a physicist after my own heart. Right, second question. How big is the cube now? It can it fit a person in? If they're like crouched up, maybe. Now, I haven't actually measured the cube, but the one thing that I don't actually care how big the cube is. What I'm noting is that the answer to the question, how big is the cube, when you had no understanding of how big a person was or what any of the context was going on, was wildly unknown. Like, you have absolutely no idea how big something is when you're in the digital world. And this is the best way I know to explain this, that when you look at something in Rhino or in Revit even, or any 3D software, you have absolutely no understanding how big scale is. But when you put people in, your brain just kind of fires into, oh yeah, I can picture that. I can know that if it was standing here on this stage, it would be about, come up to my waist maybe, or something like that. If you want, I can use the distance tool and say the cube is 1,150 millimeters high. So, I mean, basically, pretty much all of your guesses were astoundingly accurate on that second one, around a meter cubed. And what's amazing is your brain did that without even thinking. And it got it pretty right. Pretty much. And the only thing you needed was to have a person. And so one of the things that I want to drill into you very, very early on with where is my Moodle gone? Must be here. With this course is, do not make the mistake of opening up Rhino and not putting a person in. And so in order to help you out, let me in, please. Yeah, here we go. My friends, now who are the friends going to be? They'll be, I think I gave them some names. No, I didn't put the names on this one. I've put on the Moodle site a file called people. And if you scroll down on the Moodle page, what you'll find is a little thing called Rhino People to Scale. And you can download that file. It's the file called people. And ideally, this would now load. Come on. Here we go. It's getting there. It's thinking. And the screen is going off. I don't need to labor that point, but I think you get the idea, right? Before you have any people context, you have no idea how big anything is. And it's very easy to just start building something in a 3D area where it's just completely wrong and you have no real understanding of what the scale is doing. Whereas if you rely on Gary and Penelope and what's his name? I don't know. I forgot what they got called. And the other thing you can do is you can I'm going to have to close down some things because this is not looking healthy. For some reason, I've now managed to open multiple copies of my people file. Here we go. What you can do, come on, here we go, is once you have your file open with your people in, you can save that not as a Rhino file, but as a template. And as soon as this loads, I will actually show you how to do this. Come on. Turns out it was Visual Studio all along. Here we are, look, okay. Right, there's Gary, there's Dennis, there's Penelope. And they're there available for you whenever you like. But what you can do is you can go File, Save As, but underneath Save As is a thing called Save As Templates. What that means is every time you load up a new Rhino file, you can use this template to make sure that there's always some people waiting for you to use. So you don't have to remember, you just go, oh, I need a new file, and my people are going to be there waiting for me. Does that make sense? And you can save that basically wherever you like. There you go. Gary is my favorite. And the reason Gary is my favorite is because if I switch this view to wireframe, which I'll show you a bit more about in future lectures, but you'll see that Gary has a very, very empty wireframe. There aren't too many lines going on. Whereas this guy, Dennis, is like incredibly detailed. And Dennis maybe looks really good in like a render or something, but he's quite like, he doesn't make it very easy for you to work with things when you're designing very quickly. And what you'll notice is that things are all a little bit janky when I'm moving them around. What I can do is I can delete these guys, and now just with Gary in the file, this is going to go a lot quicker. It's going to be a smaller file. It's going to be saved quicker. We've got less geometry to worry about. Use the people. I think that's basically what I want to suggest is the most important thing. Let's head back. And the question is, are we going to have time to do this? I'd love to be able to, but let's try it. So another thing that you may want to do is to bring in not data from somewhere else, but data from your world, data from the world in which you live. I'm going to try and find some kind of object here. There's this microphone, and I will put it here. And one of the things that you can do, if you have an object in the real world, and it doesn't really matter how big it is, it could be an entire building or a car or something very small, is you can use, let's try putting this on. This isn't going to be recorded very well, I'm afraid. So you're here, you're going to have to remember this. Document cam, here we go. If I fire up, where are the polycam? Here we go. With polycam, I don't know if you can see that, it's probably a little bit too bright. Can I turn the brightness down? Who knows? All right. Can you just about see that? I can make, and there are plenty of apps that do this. Polycam's just one of them, but effectively what you're looking for is an application that does photogrammetry. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take pictures of an object at lots and lots of different angles, and then it's going to send that off to a web server, which is going to make a 3D model of that object that I can then bring into Rhino. You could do this with your friends. It actually works really well with people. It's quite fun. And you could do this with, so for example, you want to have a person sitting in a particular way on a chair. Well, get someone to sit that way on a chair and take loads and loads and loads of photos of them. And I'll do this now. I don't think this is going to work particularly well, but I can try. It's all like upside down. This is quite... is everyone feeling slightly seasick? Okay. Anyway, so what I've got here is I've got my camera on my phone, and it says hold camera still and tap record button. So all I'm doing is I'm going to just take loads of photos of this little weird thing that I can see on the it's like a microphone or something. Hold camera still, and then what happens is all I'm now doing is I'm moving my phone around it in 3 dimensions, up and down, and every time it notices that there's been a little movement, it takes another photo from that angle. So far I've taken 20 photos. It's just automatically done it. I'm just going to keep going around. Maybe we'll go over the top. Come back round this way, come down and get the side of this thing. Try not to trip over the stage. Okay, and now I'm going to click done and hope for the best. And so now it's taken, how many photos has it taken? A lot. Something like, here we go. And one of the options is photogrammetry. If you pay them some money, you can get Gaussian splats. Gaussian splats are amazing. They're super fun. I'm just going to go for default fast. This basically won't give me as many points, but it'll be good enough for just a demo. And you can see here all the photos that I've taken of this thing. As I scroll around, you can see there's just 46 different images. More is always better. You can use up to 150 or something. And so now all I'm going to do is I'm going to press upload and process. And this will upload that to Polycam servers. This is all free. I haven't had to pay any money for this. And at some point in the next 20 minutes, I hope, I will get a little ping on my phone and it will say, your model's ready, and we'll download the model and we'll bring it into Rhino and we'll see what happens. And we'll keep our fingers crossed that maybe it works. This is currently going to be working away in the background. Okay, let's head back to here. Here we are. Okay. Now, I don't think I'm also going to need to spend a huge amount of time teaching you Photoshop, but I do want to let you know that Photoshop is kind of like a really good friend when it comes to this idea of layering up information. So I'm actually going to connect to a different computer now, hopefully still capturing my screen. It looks like it is. That's good. Here we are. Just because it looks like my computer is struggling a little bit this morning, and so we'll connect to a slightly more powerful one. So, do with muting all this nonsense. Whilst that's loading up, what I will do is head back to come on. Last week, we downloaded, here it is, an aerial image of the area where we are. And I'm just going to pop that onto my desktop and hope that it's then also available to me here. Let's come up here and find the same area that we were interested in last week. Which was here, I think. There we go. And so what we're going to do is simply take a PDF of this area here from OpenStreetMap. You could turn on whichever layers you wanted to. I'm just going to leave this on the normal ones, and we'll download that PDF. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take that map PDF and place that on my desktop too. There we go. And now when I head back to here, I should have these available to me. Right, so the first thing I'm now going to be able to do is, well, hoping for the best. Yeah, here we go. There's our PNG file that we made last week. So here is our high-res aerial image that we got from Map Puzzle, and I've brought that into Photoshop. But the other thing is Photoshop can also read PDFs. So I can, at the same time, if I wanted to, come to my desktop here and drag and drop that map PDF onto Photoshop. And now what I have is those two layers. Now, you might say to yourself, well, that's not particularly helpful yet, because one of them is simply just sort of like smoshed on top of the other. And so the thing about layering information and the thing about layering in Photoshop is that suddenly you enter into a kind of world where you can maybe choose different ways to combine images. So I could use, for example, something like, actually what I'm going to do is take this guy here, put a solid color at the bottom. I'm going to put just a white color at the very bottom layer. And then this one, the aerial image, I'm going to take the opacity of that down. And then this one, I'm going to turn this using an adjustment layer. These are my adjustment layers in the bottom. Has everyone used Photoshop before, used layers and adjustment layers a little bit before? If you haven't, just literally follow along with what I'm clicking, and you will know everything in 10 minutes that I use Photoshop for. I just use Photoshop to layer things together. And what you can do is you can take this map and you can say, I want to turn it into a black and white image. And the way you can do that is rather than having an adjustment layer at the top that affects everything below it, I can use this little box here, which is a square with a little line coming out of it. And I can press that. And what that will do is make only the map black and white rather than the layer below it. So the layer below it is still color. So I can turn the opacity of that up and you'll see that's color. This map has now become black and white. And I can also then turn that into a multiply. Turn this one down. And then you can kind of start to see that if you massage this into place, there would be an opportunity, first of all, for you to line these guys up with one another. And I can take this map and I might well want to be able to change the scale of it. Now, this is going to take a lot of fiddling, but I'm sure I can get there fairly soon. I'll just turn the map off, the aerial image off for now. Let's get our bearings. So this is Headington Road, and then this is Gypsy Lane. So let's see if we can find Headington Road and Gypsy Lane on our aerial image. Well, looks to me like that's Gypsy Lane and that's Headington Road. So we're not far off in terms of the way this works. Potentially, maybe I want to try and get Gypsy Lane and Headington Hill Road kind of slightly more lined up. And we're not far off, are we? But the scale is wrong because I can see this is Cheney School Sports Field. And I know that Cheney School Sports Field is all the way down here. So actually what I'm going to have to do is grab the corner of this and bring it out. And the moment I sort of start to see this thing could actually make some sense. Do you see that building now looks like it's sort of starting to match up? And then these guys here. Now it's going to take a little bit of time, but you can now basically bring together an aerial image and a map that you downloaded. And all I've done is like 3 commands in Photoshop. And they're starting to kind of have a conversation with one another. Now, you're going to do that much better than me. You're also going to spend a lot more time getting the scales right, because I think this is all over the shop. And if I zoom in, what you'll find is that like none of the lines quite line up and it's all a little bit of a mess. But it's a start, isn't it? And if you're good at Photoshop just by using layers, then this task is like basically all site analysis is kind of layering stuff up in Photoshop in my world anyway. And you get fast at this and like everything will go very smoothly for you. That wasn't a great demo, but something even better has happened, which is that if I log into Polycam, which is the app that I used to do some stuff here, and I log in with my, hopefully, email address, or maybe my Google account, can't remember. There we go. Here we are. So I took 46 images of this little microphone sitting on a desk, and what it's done is it's produced a 3D model of that thing that I can now rotate around and look at in quite a bit of detail, right? This is the original. Not far off, is it? Pretty good, eh? Took, what, 5 minutes? Are you all now going to go away and photogrammetry scan your friends? And then you own their likeness and you have taken ownership of their soul? Right, so how's this useful? Well, I can come over here. We're like 2 minutes from done because this isn't even the coolest bit. Here we are. I'm going to export this to a GLTF file. It's the only file I can do for free, sadly. If you pay the money, you can get other file types, but this is enough. And the reason it's enough is because I can export that file. I can come here into Rhino, and what's the name of this part of the lecture series? Imports. So I can do file imports, and hope for the best. Here are my downloads. Boom. So now I'm inside Rhino, and what I have is a mesh that's resulted from the photogrammetry that I've just done. I can see someone. You have to stay really still. If you move, then it messes everything up. Now, obviously, this is messy. This is a messy mesh. Do you remember me showing you Dennis? And it was like, when you zoomed out, it was just a black mass of lines. But the cool thing is that the scale isn't actually that far off. Now, scale, there's two ways of now dealing with the scale. The first is, the easiest is, you take a ruler and you measure a distance that you know, and you say, okay, I know that distance is what, 65 millimeters or something. And then you come to your item in Rhino and you turn on OSnap, which is object snapping. And we're going to turn on the vertex snap. And what that will allow us to do is to click this thing and type scale. And I'm going to choose the base point of this corner here. And I'm going to choose the target point of this corner here. And what you'll notice now is that I can now basically make this thing as big or as small as I want it to be. And if I have a distance I know it is, like let's pretend I've measured that and it's exactly 65 millimeters. So I'm going to type in 65. And now that whole thing is scaled to a realistic scale in my environment. And you'll notice that it makes sense with the other people in my environment. So you can have a whole conversation about scanning a real thing into your digital environment. And then you could start, this is the next part of the lecture series, but we could start now modeling using this as like a guide. So maybe we take this thing here. And this is kind of, I'm zooming ahead now, but what I might want to do is rotate this so that this thing is kind of straight. There we go. And I'm going to model a box that goes from here to here and is about yay high. Let's go. Whoa. This is a slightly, there we go. And we'll come into a ghosted mode. Just move that over. And now I've got a box that is modeled based on exactly the same thing that I just scanned. Do you see why importing stuff is going to be really helpful to you? Because it could give you this leg up in starting when you go into your modeling phase, that you've got something to work from. Now, what I just showed you is kind of a sneak peek. And if you want to follow along, you can. I was doing a whole load of millions of clicks that you're probably going to be like, whoa, how is he doing all of that? And what is he pressing on the mouse? We'll get there, I promise. But right now, think about the data sources that you're interested in. Think about the sites that you're working on and see what you can find and layer up over this next week. My recommendation is do task one this week, get it over and done with, and then you've basically got the first page of your portfolio over and done with. We've got a few minutes for questions about anything that we've covered today. So I'll give you a minute to think and then just chuck your hand up and we'll answer any questions that are ongoing. I can see a hand up. Or is that someone pointing at the screen? Yeah, can we listen? Because this question might well be useful to you as well. Go for it. You can't use Map Puzzle on a Mac. Sorry. It's old school. It's like pretty much runs on DOS or something. I don't know. But yeah, borrow someone else's laptop for an hour, get the image you need, or just ask them to do it. I don't think it's very easy to use Map Puzzle on the university computers either, but if you get together with a few friends, only one of you needs a Windows computer, and you can do it all together. What's that? There are other ways of doing it. If you just Google, I want to download Google Maps aerial images, pardon me, that's the best one I've found. I've lost my microphone. Can you actually hear me? I'll put this one on. Any other questions? Yes. Shh, I can't hear. Toby is going to follow up with an email about Rhino. I think it might be a couple of weeks. I don't like for now. You can use 90-day trials of Rhino, and they'll last as long as you like. There's even if you use up all of your 90 days, you can. You didn't hear this from me, but like if you sign up with your university email, you get 90 days. If you sign up with your personal email, you get 90 days. So just keep going with the trial version until Toby sorts out the purchase, sort of the bulk purchase thing. It might take a few weeks to get it all sorted. No other questions? Great. Well, in that case, I will see you next week. Have a lovely week of mapping. Hello. Yes. Terrain Mesh is the plugin that will do that in a really interesting way. It will give you a way better example. So the thing about Patch is you've got two different types